I was born in Irving, and then I kind of lived in the area, grew up mainly in Arlington, and so kind of have been in this North Texas area for much of my life growing up. I was kind of born and raised in North Texas, I guess you'd say. My mother's from the area. My father immigrated to the States from Ghana, so they all met kind of in this North Texas. And then I have a younger sibling, a younger sister. She still lives in the area. I left high school and went to Colorado State as a student athlete. That's where I did my undergrad. I studied health and exercise science there, and then had the opportunity to go to the NFL. Went in undrafted. I say I made the NFL the hard way. I think we walked in with about 20-something guys onto the Indianapolis Colts, and by the end of the first year, the first rookie camp and so forth, we started the season with about 8 of us. So I learned the NFL pretty quickly.
You had to prove yourself.
That's right, yeah. Had a couple seasons there and then went up the road to Purdue. Purdue was my master's degree area, and so I thought I wanted to get into coaching. So I actually started coaching as a graduate assistant for the Purdue athletic department, Purdue football team. And then, but was taking classes, obviously as a graduate student, and really found an interest in sports psychology that I was studying there. So my advisor at the time asked me, have you thought about getting a PhD? I'm first generation college student, so that carries with you kind of at every phase. And so the idea of getting a PhD, I hadn't really thought about it, didn't know what that meant, didn't know how. So he really pointed me in the right direction. I actually ended up back down here in Austin, University of Texas, for my PhD. And so I started as a faculty member at Kansas State. I was recruited quickly to Colorado State, spent there the last maybe decade or so, and then now I'm here.
So how do you go from, studying sports psychology, being a football player in the NFL, to becoming the dean of the College of Liberal Arts and Social Sciences? Seems like a quick turn.
Yeah, I'm sure there's many paths to get to this spot. As most roles, there's a lot of ways to get somewhere. For me, I was really interested in, from a research standpoint, kind of these intersections of race and sport, and so that really led me through my my academic journey as a graduate student and a faculty member. And a lot of that drew on my kind of own personal experience. So in many ways I was kind of always being very self-reflective of the experiences I had, and that made me very curious as a faculty member to ask other questions. I was recruited back to my alma mater to serve as a senior associate athletic director for diversity, equity, inclusion. And so this role didn't exist at that time. And so I stepped into this role without a blueprint, but I was passionate from a scholarship, from a researcher's perspective. And this gave me the opportunity to think about how to put theory into practice and to work with a population that was near and dear to my heart. Those kind of leadership opportunities came along the way. I don't know if I was always planning every step.
Yeah, it wasn't something you were like, I need to do this. It's just kind of.
Some folks say you plan every step. I would say that my journey has been a little bit more intentionally opportunistic. I want to get involved and want to say yes to a lot of things. Sometimes you need to say no, or maybe this is not the right time. But when opportunities came, I'd say, okay, I'll take a risk here. I don't exactly know the path. We'll get in there, we'll start working on it and see what can unfold. And so that's been a little bit of my nature.
You definitely seem like the kind of guy who's willing to take on any challenge and do the best at it. So where do you think that came from?
Yeah, if it's cliche, it comes from my parents. My mother didn't go past the 9th grade in her education, and so seeing how she worked, she took risk. She'd probably laugh. Some of them were not wise, and some of them she was learning along the way. She was trying to find her journey, and my father, immigrated to the country, as I mentioned earlier, and he comes to a country by himself, has to find his way himself, and so that was instilled in me.
When this opportunity was presented to you, what made you want to take it?
I hadn't been looking, at that point in my career, but as I was kind of describing, I was becoming a bit of a utility player at Colorado State, in a good way. But it suddenly intrigued me, might there be kind of what's the next step for me? North Texas kind of falls in the lap and say, hey, they were searching for a new executive dean. And I remember this institution when it was half its size as I left the area. And so to see that growth and to see that growth done in a way that's really captured a diversity of the students, potential students in this area, that's really impressive to me. And that's kind of the institution that I was looking to be a part of. And then just good people. Getting a chance to really meet the leadership on campus, from our president to our provost to the other deans. There's a great community and collaboration in the ways they work together, and I appreciated that feel. And that same drilled down into the college of our department chairs across all of our different academic units. They are also very collaborative, and I think that's a good culture to walk into.
How did it feel to come back home?
It feels great. The area has grown significantly. I really spent a lot of time in these small college towns, and so Denton still has the college town feel, but on the skirts of DFW, the outskirts. So yeah, excited, and it just coming back in a new role, a role that I think has a lot of opportunity to really kind of help UNT or help the College of Liberal Arts and Social Sciences kind of take the next steps. So that's what I'm excited to be back for.
Has the community welcomed you back?
Absolutely, absolutely. There's certainly kind of you know, being born and raised in Texas, you kind of have that Texas pride, and so that warm welcome of being back in the state itself, I've really felt that.
What is the biggest goal you set for yourself coming into this role? What did you want to achieve?
That's a hard question. Well, it's probably simplest, student success, right? Ways in which we're preparing students to be really engaged and prepared as leaders for the really interesting, messy, sticky kind of challenges that the world presents. I want students that are going to be thinking about how they can take on roles, not only just get into into a career and find a job, but find a pathway of elevating themselves, and again be a leader in those spaces. You'll hear me say language like the mission, the responsibility. I often say is to amplify human potential to propel transformation. Right? That's the responsibility that I feel and I want us to carry with us, and I think that should be again an inspiring, motivating identity of who we are.
Give them the materials to succeed.
That's right. That's right.
And so my last question is, how do you plan to achieve that?
Early on, right now, it requires a lot of listening. So coming in, hearing how things have come to be, and there's a lot of institutional knowledge that's within the leadership team that I have within the college, our associate deans, and many of our department chairs, and so it's important to kind of listen and learn from what they've been working through. So I can best understand the next best question to ask.
So what would you say you've learned so far?
Man, what have I learned so far? I love it here.
Yeah.
We have amazing students doing great things. I've learned that we are really set up to provide students with a lot of skills. And so, I think there's a lot of capacity here. I think I've learned a lot of the passion from our alumni that they have for UNT, and that's really exciting. So I've learned that folks are engaged and they're hungry for whatever is next.